Hey guys, it's Caitlin and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a super exciting video for you guys. I've been saying for a few weeks that whenever I reached 100 subscribers on my channel, I would be reading the first pages of What Lies Above from both of my point of view characters, and I recently reached 100, so thank you guys so much for all of your love and support. I recently started my channel. I haven't had it that long, a few months I believe, so the fact that already over 100 people are supporting me and watching my videos and leaving me comments saying that they think that these videos are helpful and inspiring just touches my heart, and I'm just so happy that you guys are liking the content on here and that it is helpful for you guys and encouraging, because that was really one of the main purposes of me starting this channel, was not only to document my journey and give writing advice and share books that I love, but just to encourage you guys and to kind of give you guys a look into a fellow writer and fellow author's life as a writer and as an author, and also to just see somebody else go through some struggles, but also some, highs and lows of the writing journey, because it can be a really lonely thing. Writing can be super solitary, and so having somebody to relate to, I know personally for me, has been super important in my journey, and I found a lot of really great friends through YouTube, so I'm super glad that you guys are enjoying my channel, and thank you guys again for all of your love and support. So since I'm now over 100 subscribers, I will be reading my first pages from the What Lies Above manuscript right now for you guys, and here we have it right here, and I'm super excited. Just as like a note, these pages are probably going to be changing in my final edits. I've had this first page for Eva's perspective for a long time. I've changed the first pages and the first chapters a few times because for me, beginnings are always the hardest part. Knowing where to start and knowing where to get your story going is just a really difficult thing for me. So I have changed the chapters a few times, but I really love where this starts. But after some beta and especially some CP feedback that I've received, I'm going to refine it and change it up a little bit. It will still be starting in generally the same spot, but I want it to be a little bit different. So these aren't going to be the final product that I will end up querying. However, it gives you guys a good idea of where the story starts and of the voices of the story. So I'm going to be reading them and sharing them with you guys, since I have been promising to do that for a while. Just before we begin, I do have two main characters in What Lies Above. It is a dual point of view novel, and it is told in alternating chapters between my main character Eva and the secondary main character Eli. And so I will be sharing the first pages from both of their perspectives, starting with Eva and then going to Eli because the story begins with her. So first up is chapter 1, which is told by Eva's perspective. And before we begin, I do just have a really quick little story about this. This first page was the first page that I submitted at the Tennessee Writing Workshop last July, I believe, July of 2017, at the Tennessee Writing Workshop for a agent critique panel. It was anonymous, and you could submit 9 copies of your first page, and pages were randomly selected out of this huge stack. I think there was like 150 submissions, and the agents all got a copy, and then they had somebody who actually was Chuck Sambancino, if you guys know who that is. He was reading out the page aloud for everybody in the audience to hear, and then the agents sat on the panel and read along, and whenever they would have stopped reading it in like a cold email query, they were supposed to raise their hand, and that meant that they would have bowed out or stopped reading, and then at the end they got to critique or give their comments about the pages, and my page was selected, and I was so blown away that, because I think they only picked like 20 out of the 150 or 200, however many there were, and I was sitting there, my heart was pounding so fast, and it was just an incredible moment and memory. But they actually really liked the page. They did give me a few pointers, but nobody raised their hand while it was being read, so that was super exciting, and I got to go up and meet some of them afterwards, and it was an awesome moment. So this is the page that I submitted and that all of those agents were reading, just as a little side note before we begin. Alrighty, now let's get started. They say that on the surface the sky is blue, not the deep, swirling blue of shadows or night, bright and flawless, like Amara's eyes. From here, the darkness over me is like spilled ink, blotting out anything beyond the roofs of the surrounding compounds. I imagine Amara's face, her brilliant eyes, and then I try to pull that color into a sky. The thought is thrilling, but after a few seconds, shadows begin to creep in, darkening that blue, pulling me back to the grid and the dust and the darkness. I let my eyes wander down along the sandstone walls to the door of the physician's compound. To my right, trailing through the street in the direction I've come, a cloud of dust swirls through the shadows, partially covering my footprints. In the eerie silence, the hushed whisper of it sets my mind on edge, like 1,000 voices all hissing in my ear. The timepiece on my wrist glows green, and the faint black shapes cutting 4 numbers, 12:06. I grit my teeth. 6 minutes have passed since I stopped to watch the physician's compound from a safe distance. 6 minutes since the time Amara said to come. Alright, so I'm going to stop there. That was just the first page, and I really want to read more, but again, after that sentence, it gets into really the depth of the scene, and there's some action that picks up, and because I'm going to be making some changes, I don't want to get too in-depth with the action, because after that sentence, that is the majority of where I want to make a lot of the changes of what Eva actually does in the first chapter, and especially in the first few pages. Because she is kind of sedentary in the first chapter. She kind of just watches things happen. And Amara is actually, which Amara was mentioned, Amara is actually kind of the star in the first chapter, which I definitely don't want a supporting character to overshadow Eva's main voice, especially since she is the point of view character and the main character of the book. I really want her voice to come across very strongly, and one of my CPs really said she wished that we got more of Eva's voice in there. So that's something that I'm going to be working on, and because of that, I'm not going to continue reading, just because, again, there's going to be some changes, and I'd be happy to read the updated pages, the first few pages of each point of view, whenever I actually query. Maybe I can share the first pages with you guys then, once it is finalized, but for now, I'm going to stop there for Eva, and I'm going to move on to chapter 2, the first page in chapter 2, which is told from Eli's perspective. Alrighty, so chapter 2, Eli, day 91. I wake up gasping, my skin hot and damp with sweat. It takes a moment for my eyes to focus, for the eerie green glow and cold, tight space of the train car to melt away into the familiarity of my quarters. 3 months. It's been 3 months since I was brought here, and still, the nightmares keep their claw-like fingers locked around my brain. All I want is one night's sleep. It's enough that I have to spend every waking hour thinking about my old life. I don't need to relive it in my dreams. I swing my legs off the mattress, letting my eyes sweep the rest of the room. Joel is standing just inside the doorway, watching me. So much for privacy. What? I snap, pushing myself onto my feet. I walk to the chest of metal drawers against the wall. A dish of water sits on top, beneath a grimy little mirror mounted on the wall. Dipping my hands in, I splash my face, watching the flesh drain from my cheeks. In the mirror, I see a man who has been hollowed out, reduced to a shell, and then built into something he's not. I take up a rag from the tabletop and wipe my face, forcing my gaze away from my reflection. Finally, Joel answers me. Runner, sir. My hands freeze where they are, for just a moment. Tossing the rag back onto the drawer top, I nod at him. Make preparations for the demonstration. He hesitates for a moment, and I feel that tension, which even after 3 months hasn't ever lightened. It's the balance of holding someone's secret in your hand. I glance at him, and in an instant, he nods and leaves my room to follow my orders. I look back at my reflection. Runner. A deep ache carves its way through my gut. I've done this before. It isn't the first time. Nevertheless, my hands never get used to how their bodies jerk beneath my rod, the way their cries pierce my ears. Just as a side note, okay, so that's where I'm going to stop. That was actually the first page and a half of his chapter, and I wish that I could read more, because for me, the interesting thing is that the book was originally only told in Eva's perspective. And whenever I did my huge rewrite last fall, in the fall of 2017, I added Eli's perspective in there, and not only did it add a considerable amount of words to the manuscript, I think it went from how many words do I have? Yeah, it went from like 80,000 to 102,441 words, so it added quite a bit of bulk to the word count, but it also just added so much depth to the story, and I can't even imagine how the story could have existed before without Eli's perspective. It's just crazy for me to believe that it once was only Eva's story. And even though the focus really is on Eva, even though she's a little bit of more of a main character than Eli is, his voice just really pulled me in whenever I was writing it, and I absolutely love his story. Their characters are totally different. Eva is definitely more sweet and innocent, and even though she's definitely strong and she goes after what she wants as well, her character arc is huge from the beginning to the end of the story, and she definitely gains a lot of strength through the story. So whenever we begin, she isn't necessarily as strong. She definitely is more of the innocent, wants to do good type, and Eli is the complete opposite. He's seen a lot in his life, and it's affected him, and not necessarily in a very good way. And so I just love how kind of dark his character is, and it's not an evil kind of darkness, but there's definitely things that he does that I personally don't agree with. But writing that was just so interesting for me, and such a wonderful experience to be able to kind of dive into his mind and see the contrast between him and Eva. And so that's why I really want to read more, because his first chapter is one of his favorite chapters that I loved writing and that I love in the book. It's one of my favorite just pieces of his brain. It really focuses on his feelings and emotions, on his motivations, and I just love it so much. So I wish I could keep reading, but I'm going to stop there after the first 2 pages. So those are the first pages of both my point of view characters, Eva and Eli, and I hope you guys enjoyed them. Again, I wish I could read more because I would love to keep going, but since I will be making quite a few changes, particularly on Eva, I don't think I'm going to make that many changes on Eli's first chapter. I am going to do some world building to kind of pull elements of the world into his chapters so that you know right from the beginning some of how the world works. I don't want obviously everything to be known, to have a huge info dump, or for the reader to just know everything from the beginning, but I am going to make it a little bit more concrete with Eli, but I'm really going to change up Eva's chapter. Alright, so that is all for reading the chapters. I do just want to show you guys an exciting thing first before we go, and then make a little announcement about something that's coming up in the next few days and this week. First off is the exciting thing I want to show you guys, which is an aesthetic that I made yesterday for What Lies Above. It's the first aesthetic that I ever made. I really like graphic design things. I mean, I did my own website and I really like doing like graphic images and just logos, different things like that. However, I had never done an aesthetic for my characters. I don't know why. I've seen lots of my friends do them and they're beautiful and amazing, and I had never done one, so I decided that I wanted to do one for the book. And I spent a lot of time last night making the aesthetic, probably more time than I should have, and I got a whole bunch of different images together from different sites and I kind of just threw them together. And then this morning I sent it to one of my beta readers, who also happens to be one of my really good friends, and she told me that even though she really liked it and thought that it fit the story, generally with an aesthetic you're supposed to have like a color theme, or you know, 1 or 2 or a handful of colors that really tie together so that it looks uniform. And so I decided to pull out some of the images and I made a few different aesthetics with different color themes, and in the end I decided on this one, and I'll pop it up right here, which has kind of like an icy blue, black, and silvery white theme for the colors, and I think that it just captures What Lies Above so well, and the characters, and kind of there's this like mystery and darkness, and I love it so much. And if you want to see the images bigger and more up close, if you want to see a full-size image, you can go down to the description box and click on the link to my Twitter page, and this is the pinned tweet. My aesthetic is the pinned tweet, so you can check that out and enlarge the image and look at it a little bit closer if that's something that you are interested in doing. But I just want to show you guys that because that's super exciting and something that I just love. I absolutely love this aesthetic. Like I said, I feel like it just captures What Lies Above so well, and a picture's worth 1,000 words, so I just absolutely love this. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys that. Alright, and then for my second announcement, I decided that I wanted to do a few like What Lies Above themed things and announcements and show you guys some behind the scenes looks into What Lies Above and my inspiration for it over the next few days and into next week. I don't really know why. I think it's just because I'm doing my final edits, I'm getting my CP and beta feedback, and I'm making some changes, and I'm getting ready to query hopefully next month at the end of February. And I think that I just really want to, as I get closer to querying, I really just want to share with you guys some different pieces of What Lies Above that maybe you don't get to see generally whenever I'm just talking about my progress on the manuscript and on querying. So the first step was to read the first pages for you guys, which we have already done. The second step was to show you the aesthetic, which I also did. And then the next step is going to be to introduce you guys to my main characters, Eva and Eli. I especially already have some things for Eva, but I'm going to just show you guys an image of what I think that they look like, and then tell you guys a little bit about them, and maybe ask you guys some questions, you know, have like a little Q&A with my characters, just do something fun. I found one image whenever I was aesthetic hunting last night, and it just sums up Eva so perfectly, and one of my betas I showed her and she was like, this is stunning. It absolutely sums her up so well. So I can't wait to show you guys that picture. I'm going to be showing you that, and then I need to find an image for Eli. I really, in my head, I haven't found any images that go with the picture that I have of him in my head, so I'm going to hunt one of those down. So keep a lookout for that if you would be interested in hearing more about my characters and participating, sending me some questions to answer about them. I'm not sure what day I'll be doing that, but make sure that you follow me on Twitter because I'll probably be hosting it over there. I might decide to do a video, I'm not really sure, but I'll make an announcement about it on my social media, probably on Twitter. So all my social media links are down below in the description box if you want to go follow me and connect. I would love to hear from you. And that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed me reading the pages and seeing the aesthetic, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye!